Human.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, let's do a kind of a mini top 5 at 5 as I figure out the clock the rest of the way. As I mentioned, Louis coming up in just a little bit. What do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with some positivity because one team in town is dominant.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
All we do is win.
To go. Puck through center ice for Scheifele walks his way in, right circle, a shot missed high and wide. In the final seconds here, ticking down as Ogren tries to jar one out in the center, and that does it. The Minnesota Wild pick up their NHL-leading 5th shutout win of the year. Jesper Wallstedt now with his 4th career whitewashing, 3 of them this season, as the Wild beat the Jets for the first time in the last 10 tries in the all-time season series. They shut out the Winnipeg Jets here at Canada Life Center, 3-0 the final.
Gotta love it. Going to a divisional foe's home arena and shutting them out 3-0. Danil Yurov getting on the board as well.
That's bigger than you right there. You love that.
You put them on the top line. That's what happens. So all of a sudden, the Wild are now 12-7-4. They got 28 points. They're 3rd place in the Central Division.
How about that?
Just out of nowhere.
Completely. If the season ends today, we make the playoffs.
Not only you make the play, you're not even a wild card.
Not even a wild card anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Think about it. Now,
all that nonsense about how you got to be careful, we're going to get buried too early, and it's hard to make up points. We've already made them up.
Think about it. It's been like a perfect month of November.
After just a horrific finish to last month, or the start of it, right? Correct.
Yeah. Little ray of negativity. If the season
another
ended,
injury?
No. If the season ended today, they'd get the Dallas Stars in the first round of the playoffs. So that's not great, but
bring them on.
If no one can score.
Exactly. You can't lose if the other team can't score.
Exactly. So the Wild, to answer your question, they play on Wednesday in Chicago against the Blackhawks.
Are the Blackhawks any good yet?
I mean, they're getting there.
They've
better, got young
but,
skill.
Yeah, but they haven't really turned it into anything formidable yet.
I mean, they're 10-8-4.
Okay, so not
fine.
awful. Yeah, they're better than they were back in the day.
Bedard's good. Ryan Donato is good.
Okay.
So that's when they'll be in action next. But all they do is score goals and shut teams out. And Wallstedt, the great Wallace St. Paul, Wallstedt.
Get it right.
There's always one texter who gets mad at that, like, as if your day is ruined that I said Wallstedt.
There's, believe me, a lot of people who pretend to have their days ruined by things we say, which says more about them than it does us.
It does.
That's okay.
So one team in town is waving the flag of Minnesota saying we're a good team. And it's the Minnesota Wild right now.
That's it.
That's all I got.
That's all we got. I mean, that's the only one right now. I mean, the Frost just raised a banner, lost that night. Now, that's not as important as after having the banner to raise, which is worthy. Gopher men, who men's basketball, we haven't talked a lot about them. They lost, I think, to the University of San Francisco the other day. They had shown some promise early. Now it seems like they're coming back to the pack a little bit. It's going to take a minute, I think. No question about that. And what was the other? We talked a lot on Sunday about the latest Gopher meltdown that puts them in a position. Will you double check for me what the current spread is? Gophers hosting the Wisconsin Badgers. I bet you it's minuscule.
No,
I'm going to say, without knowing, the Gophers are favored by 2.
I think if you would have said that even a month ago, I would have laughed.
It would have been preposterous, yes.
But now, not so much. The Gophers are favored by 1.5.
Even more.
Wow.
You want a bigger indictment? Right there. You're at home against a team that has
terrible.
been awful, at least until recently, and that's the best you can do. And I said this Sunday, man, beware a team that starts feeling, it's just been pounded all year. They got wounds everywhere. They've just been obliterated by their fan base and everybody. The coach, the whole bit is getting ripped. And they get a little success going, and they go, hell yeah, this is fun. We're going to play this thing out. So they're not going to play like a team that's buried, is my point. Because they're coming off better games, a good victory against Illinois most recently. So this is a dangerous game for the Gophers. The Wisconsin defense is legit, period. Not saying the offense is on the verge of becoming great, but let's face it. A lot of offenses have looked good against this Gopher defense. So this is if you ask me right now, I'd say Wisconsin's going to win the game. if I'm being real honest about it. But the point is, it doesn't look like any kind of a mismatch the way it did just 4 or 5 games ago. And as we talked about Johnny Athletic, a horrific meltdown loss for the Wolves against Phoenix. We have yet to beat a team with a winning record, and Phoenix has one. Surprisingly, no one expected that, but and in fact, didn't they? I think at least one or two of their best scorers fouled out. Were out of the game, and the Wolves still found a way to blow that lead. So we'll find out this week. Not tonight so much at Sacramento, but then they're playing Oklahoma City on Wednesday. I think they got Boston soon. Boston's not the same Boston. They got San Antonio Davies soon. And, of course, Wembanyama is still, I think, expected to be out as well. So I don't know if you call it a lost weekend because the Wild, are playing as well as they are. But outside of that, it's been it's a little sketchy right now.
Yeah, I would
very
agree.
sketchy right now.
The intro says, just in case you missed it, here's the top 5 at 5. So I feel like this is fair game, even though it's been a lot of the show. Is J.J. McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell revealed earlier today, in concussion protocol. Now, I've seen, monitoring Twitter as I do, Ben Gessling, Kevin Seifert, basically posting all 22s and saying, well, here's where it could have been.
Yeah.
He said it was going to be late. Maybe it was this one where he fell over a little bit and he laid down for a little bit longer. The conspiracy theorists are out on this one.
They're out.
And it just smells a little bit. He told us on the team plane. So there's just a lot of weirdness going on with it, and no one really knows when it happened or why. And concussions are a weird thing. But do you think there's any merit to that at all?
Here's where I think, as I said earlier, the merit for me, am I going to flat out say they are inventing a concussion? No, I'm not prepared to go there. I know it's the cool thing to say. I know it's what people want to hear. But I will add that part of this, the level of suspicion is the way all of these injury/sidelinings have gone for the QB. Because we knew nothing about any kind of a knee issue. Was it knee or ankle for him? I can't remember. It was ankle.
Ankle. Yeah.
When he got hurt earlier in the year. And so it felt weird. That's what led to some of the conspiracy. So, and I even sensed in Ben Lieber's comments that, I'm not saying Ben either was saying he's making it up, but almost like, oh, come on, we knew nothing about this, and then now this is what we hear. Do you know what this tells me, though? If J.J. McCarthy were playing well, even serviceably, I think the conspiracy theories go away.
Yeah.
They have, I think, traction because he has tended to be dreadful, historically dreadful. So that's what contributes to the conspiracy theories more than any other element. It's how badly he has tended to perform. And they go, they want to sit him. All right. Or does he want to sit? I don't know. Bottom line, though, is, and we've talked about this before, whether you think it's real or invented, availability matters. And whether a guy is legitimately hurt, if whether it's bad luck or bad circumstance, can't be available, then you got a problem, right? And we've seen that happen before with football players, basketball players, baseball players, etc. So, no, I'm not ready to say they invented it, but I'll say again, I bet deep down they're relieved that they have something they can hang their hat on to sit them without having to turn it into you're benching him. They can, with a straight face, say, well, we're responding to a medical situation. Concussions are taken a lot more seriously than they used to be and should be. Could it ever be used as a lever to hide behind? You'd like to think not, but anything's possible. But I do think I thought this last time, that realistically, at the least, they were relieved that they're going to be able to sit him because his level of quarterback play is not sustainable right now for a professional team. Period. End of story. And again, don't text me. I know you got to play him. That's the only way he gets over it. I understand all those things, but this is not just normal rookie or first time you've played, second year, first time you've actually been out there, going through the paces and having some difficulties and having some ups and downs. This analytically and by eye test is historic, and it does raise the question of whether he's ready at all for this whole big deal. Let's do this. Let's pause, and when we come back, and by the way, the Vikings themselves have also contributed to it with the way the head coach has endlessly come up with all these terms about what he has to do fundamentally speaking that makes it seem like he's not close to being ready. Situation that you most likely or I think fairly associate with off-season improvements that have to be made. Base, body, balance, eyes, feet, neurological, what was the term? Not patterns. Pathways, etc. We'll check on Lou Nanne's neurological pathways. He is coming up next here on The Fan.
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. She'll take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is Lou Nanne?
He is, of course, brought to you by our good friends at Kemp's, and he's a Tuesday regular, but Louis got some scheduling issues affecting his joining us as usual on Tuesday. So we moved him up, even in a heavy Vikings day, largely because the Minnesota Wild are the, sort of saving grace right now when it comes to the Minnesota professional sports scene. And I'm sure we'll talk some football with him as well. He joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Louis, where are you? I know you told me, but refresh my memory.
I'm a quarter of the way to China. I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, there you go. Vancouver, you say. Beautiful this time of year. It's always beautiful, isn't it?
Well, the city's beautiful, but it's cold. It's about 40 degrees
Is
here.
It?
And,
Ooh.
Yeah, and had a little drizzle this morning when I was walking over to the conference.
Oh, my.
But it is a magnificent city. It's gorgeous. It's got everything you want, and plus the good restaurants on top of it all. So
that doesn't ever.
No, and I got to come back tomorrow. I'll be in a flight coming back tomorrow when you're on the show. So
gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. That works. We may end up talking a little bit of J.J. McCarthy with you again, but I do want to start with the hockey team. Another shutout. It's. I guess this is I was mentioning, this is almost the time where you if you're running the team, you want to probably play every night, right? You want to milk as much out of what's going on right now. You never know how long this goes, but you want to embrace it, right? They're doing everything right now.
That's right. You feel like you can't lose when you go on one of these streaks, and especially when you got two goaltenders playing well, and you're not really concerned about who's going in the net. You're expecting to get a good game to start with. And then even though they're not healthy, and at times you'd think, geez, you got two of the three leading centers that we had going into the season on the shelf, and yet they're still playing like that. It's a good feeling. It makes them feel invincible, and it's something quite different than you got around here. You come up in Canada, it's just amazing. No matter where you go to Canadian City, unless they're winning, they're lamenting the team. And here in Vancouver, where they're having a real tough time, people are very disgusted. It's 20-some games in, but they're ready to cash in the whole season already. They're talking about Quinn Hughes, who's their best player, and he's in a situation like Kaprizov was in, and he hasn't signed yet. So now they're talking about giving him having him give them an ultimatum, what he wants, or otherwise he can get out and they can deal him, because they can't lose this guy without anything, getting back that much. And knowing that he's got two brothers in New Jersey, that New Jersey keeps talking about, wouldn't it be lovely if we had him here too? So a lot of problems in these Canadian towns with some of the teams.
No question. It's interesting because I don't have the quote in front of me. I talked to Guerin about it when we had him on the other day. This was, I think, like two shutouts ago for Wallstedt, where he likened his improvement to a belief that last year he felt like he was chasing the puck, and that he's more in a mindset of letting the puck come to me. And it almost sounds like, it's sort of hard to follow, where you say, well, sometimes you have to go to the puck if you're a goaltender. You have to react. But what do you think he means by that? Because for him, it clearly sounds like he feels like mentally he's in a much better state in terms of, why his goaltending has been much more effective this year.
Well, it sounds like it's an anxious situation. It's anxiety. You're not really knowing what to expect. You're getting a little anxious. Mm-hmm. You start believing that you got to do something before they do something. But before we get too far away from that, I want to tell you, it's not just last year. Remember, he was down in the year before in the minors and wasn't burning it up. And so this is really a welcome turnaround of events, because this is what he was supposed to be when he was drafted. As we talked about earlier, he was the all-world goaltender, the number one goalie in the world outside of the NHL at one time they were saying. And then he comes into the organization, plays a couple years in the minors, and not as bad 2 years ago as he was last year, but all of a sudden they were in a position. Remember last year they were going to go with 3 goalies. They thought that
that's right.
They didn't want to leave him down, and they couldn't afford to do that to him. Well, the little play he had up early wasn't very good either. They had to send him down, and then I got to tell you, they would start having some feelings about, well, Fleury retires, and then Gus got to bounce back better, and this guy going to be good enough. So they went from having a tentative, unknown, maybe having a goaltender problem, to having just, this guy looks unbeatable right now the way he's playing. He's playing with so much confidence and so much enthusiasm that it seems to be catchy, and it certainly got catchy with Gustafsson because he got to play better too.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I mean, now we were talking about this, I think maybe as recently as last week, that maybe, if you have 2 goaltenders going well, maybe it ends up being closer to 50-50 than you ever envisioned before the season began. But there's no concern to me about one having to be established over the other, as the number one in the way that we do with quarterbacks, because you need 2 goaltenders. And secondly, maybe later, maybe you reach the postseason and there's discussion, debate about, all right, who deserves to start game 1 or how quickly you go to the other guy. To me, that's where it can legitimately get into debate and conversation about one guy or the other. Right now, though, it's all good, right? There's nothing bad about any of this. It's all to the good.
It's all to the good, and the point you just made is something that people don't talk about or recognize very often. How often have you talked about a quarterback controversy in any team in the NFL? It's usually one clear in a way, right. He's the guy, and the second guy, if we have to go to them, we will. Whereas in hockey, many times you get a good situation with 2 goaltenders, and this is even better than a good situation because right now they're pretty even, so they're equal. As a matter of fact, they're so even right now. Stop and think about it, because you're only a few months away. The Swedish team's got to pick a goaltender for a couple of goaltenders, 3 actually, for the Olympics. Sure. Wall said already he has to project himself into that.
No question.
Talk at least, because he's played so well. You keep watching this, and if it continues, to say, how can he not be there? Football, you don't get that situation. You get the one guy starter, and if you have to go around the football circles with non-executives, et cetera, I'd like to know how many people can name the second quarterback on a football team, whereas in hockey, many people can name that second goaltender.
A couple interesting stats. This is courtesy of Brett Marshall that got my attention that I wanted to run by you. Marcus Johansson has a point in 17 of 23 games this season. Jared Spurgeon has played 173 minutes, 58 seconds of 5-on-5 in November across 11 games and has yet to be on the ice for a goal against. Those are pretty interesting numbers right there.
Those are mind-boggling numbers. And one of the things that has certainly gone away but was whispered about before this, when the Wild was in the slump, and you start thinking, how can they make changes? Who are they going to make changes with? Some of the names were thrown around were going to be Spurgeon, because Spurgeon has such a proven record of being such a terrific hockey player, still in good shape, and still got a couple of years left. And so who could bring anything of value? And his name definitely was whispered around, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. And now all of a sudden you get him playing on a streak like this, which is almost unheard of, the way he's been out there and not giving up anything 5-on-5, and really been one of the big reasons why this club has started to soar again. And that it has to pretty quickly, I think, to dispel all the rumors of him moving anywhere, as long as they keep going where they're going to be a good team the rest of the year, hopefully.
We got to take one quick break, so we're going to put Louis on hold for a quick segment and our quick, I guess, 2 or 3 minute break, and then we're going to come back. If you have questions for Luigi, now we do have the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line working and up again. So hit 646-86. We'll try to include a couple of those questions, maybe talking to him a little bit about the Vikings quarterback situation as well, because there is a controversy there. And maybe the start of the Max Brosmer era, at least for 1 week. More Louie next.
Fan.
Gear up for winter at the St. Paul Ice Fishing and Winter Sports Show, December 5th through the 7th at the River Center. Over 190 exhibitors and huge giveaways, including a $24,000 ice castle and expert seminars. For your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets, you can head to our contest page, KFAN.com. Keyword contest, KFAN.com. Keyword contest center.
Louis is indeed back with us. Unfortunately, I'm back logged out of the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. It worked for a while, but the dream has apparently died at this point. So we'll get to Louis via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Louis, of course, brought to you by Kemp's Dateline, Vancouver, British Columbia. As you may know, there's a great deal of fear and loathing ongoing regarding the Vikings quarterback situation. McCarthy was even worse than he had been the week before. Historically bad now, analytically, even among young quarterbacks in their first 5, 6, 7 starts. He is now apparently in concussion protocol. There seems to be a good indication that he will not play on Sunday, although the head coach would not commit, in which case Max Brosmer would be the starter, the former Gopher quarterback. Do you subscribe to the notion, and this can, I think, be true of any sport, including the sport that you played in and then general managed in, that even if it's a player you believe in, that you really are going to stay invested in and think has a future, that there are times when you could be doing the player a favor in the short run by sitting him, by taking the heat off for a week or two, when the performance becomes as bad as it is and the pressure mounts to the degree that it does, even if he continues to say all the right things. Is there ever is there anything ever therapeutic about sitting a player that you believe in just to sort of regroup?
That's a question that's got to be handled a lot of different ways. It all depends on the individual you're talking about. Mm. Some youngsters really benefit from something like that, and it's their personality that allows them to benefit from it, where others, more volatile or fiery or what have you, it hurts them more. They'd rather be in there, and they got the confidence and the cockiness of a person and the type of persons that become big stars when they feel like that they want to battle. They don't believe that they're in that situation, and they have a lot of confidence in themselves. So you have to know the individual. I really believe your interactions with that person while you've been coaching them or been around them will give you some indication of how he's going to react to a situation like that. And I really do believe that some will benefit, and I also believe some don't benefit. And so it's up to the coach and manager to decide what type of individual he is.
It's a fair point. I mean, that's probably, you got to know the player who's involved, et cetera. I will tell you that here's where I think it can be really tricky. Maybe in the short run, doesn't matter. But I think there was always reason to believe that in the short term, Max Brosmer might be more ready to be a quarterback for even a game or two in the National Football League than JJ is. He's a couple years old. In fact, he's 24 and a half. He's going to turn 25, I think, in March. Been around the block a while. Doesn't depend on his athleticism. Just seems like he's got, a little bit. He comes across as a little bit more of an adult. And I don't mean that as a rip to JJ, but JJ's young. On the other hand, as you know, your job when you're evaluating talent is to figure out not only who might be good or might give you the best chance to win today, but who's got the best chance to develop into the kind of guy that can help you win for a long time, right? Upside. That's what we're always talking about. Not where somebody is now, but where he's going to go. And that's the tricky part. I could see Brosmer playing better, quite frankly, Louis, than JJ did. It wouldn't really take much at this point. But that, I don't think, should be necessarily taken as we found our other guy, this is the guy we should be investing in, and that McCarthy is no longer viable. Because it's a tricky formula that is about not just the present, but also the future.
I agree with that. That's why I think they'd make a good move in putting Brosmer in for that reason, to at least give him an opportunity to play. And as you pointed out, he is older. He's got a more seasoned aura around him. You know what I mean? From what he's done,
yes,
where he's been, and being older, he might be able to handle that situation and also, just as you said, handle it pretty well, but in the long run not be the individual that McCarthy can be, because you know right off the bat that you can't throw any harder than McCarthy and you can't run any better. He's a good runner on top of it. So he's got some athletic skills if he honed them, and the biggest thing in any individual that people don't talk about, they'll talk about the athletic skills. They'll talk about the size. They'll talk about toughness. Not enough people talk about the mind. It's the mind that makes the difference. What's going on in your head. And now, if McCarthy's got those skills in the head, then finally gets to where the skills are, then you're going to have a much better player. But if the mind doesn't get where those skills are, I like Brosmer's mind. I like the way he handled himself. I like the way he came into the university and was smart enough to bring the guys around him into him and into the team and build a bond up that he had to do quickly. So it's really something to see. I want to see how he performs in that area. I think that, unfortunately for the Vikings, when you look back now, that it was a missed opportunity when he didn't go in the game for Wentz a lot earlier.
You're talking about Brosmer?
Yeah.
Right. That could be. I never understood, Wentz when we talked about it, I think at the time, where he seemed to be in as much pain as he was in. I know the comeback was, well, he can't be any more injured. He can't do any more damage, but he certainly looked like he was in a great deal of agony. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, Louis. One is there was no indication of a concussion yesterday, and now suddenly there is, and that this is a kind of a soft benching where everybody's kind of winking and saying, this is how we can say we're not really benching him. It's more about the injury, but if we can get him off the field. I refuse to believe they would invent a concussion. I don't know, but my guess is they probably don't mind that he's sitting because they have a little bit of interference that is being run for them on the basis of concussion, because they say, well, it's concussions people take seriously now. And to that extent, maybe it takes a little bit of the pressure off. And Brosmer goes in, I think, pretty loose because expectations are, not going to be great for him. But it's hard for it to get any worse than it was against Green Bay.
But if it was a wink-wink situation, Dan, don't you think, at least I feel, that McCarthy would know it? And
yes, right.
I can't picture him agreeing to it, because it's still a benching, and whether people, I don't think his personality is such that he wants to be protected from criticism as much as he wants to be given the opportunity to play. And when you fabricate an injury like that, eventually it's going to get out. The word's going to get out that it really wasn't an injury or something. You're taking you're taking a heck of a chance, and all of a sudden it's like you're protecting the individual, and that makes it even tougher on the individual because the fans could be cruel the way they react to him after that. They know they have to pull you out and take a concussion to keep you out of the line.
I'm with you on that. Yeah,
that's a dangerous situation.
No, it's not. I don't think it's worth it. As I said, I think a case. Let's say there was no concussion protocol. I do believe a case could be made that even if I am not giving up on this player, that I can be doing him a service by sitting him for a week or two and say there's some stuff we want to go over with him. And the only way we could feel like we can do that is to not throw him back right out on the field. And so that's what we're going to do. I really do think, because my concern, and you know this too, players, teammates generally say the right thing, right? And they're going to say, so we're supportive, we're going to be patient, we know this thing takes time. But human nature being what it is, players at some point, they're about performance too, right? They're not just about words. They're about, okay, are we putting guys out there that even give us a chance? And I think that's part of what, the Vikings and what KOC have to guard against, or at least have to be aware of and pay attention to. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense because we've discussed many times over about the feeling of individuals in a locker room. How many times have I said you don't have to love one another, but that day that's your brother, that's who you play for. When you leave the building, I don't care if you ever see each other again. And a team is a special bond. And if they're in a situation, that locker room, where they're getting, the other individuals are getting taken advantage of because they're not playing the best players because they don't want to say they made a mistake, or whatever the reason is, that they're fostering somebody else on that team and they're not successful. And those guys, they got their careers on the line. They got bonuses on the line. Yep. They got a lot of things on the line. They're not gonna take to that very kindly. They will stick with a player that's their teammate as much as they have to, but at the same time, they're not going to accept somebody going into the lineup that's not as good as the next guy that should be in the lineup without having some feelings about it if they lose the game. They're going to be, in essence, thinking that wasn't our best team out there today. We could have won this game with a little difference. So you have to always watch you don't lose the locker room.
Safe travels back. You said I think you're coming back tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and we will chat next week. Thank you, Luigi.
All right, look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
You as well. Excellent stuff from Louie, as always, not just on hockey. That's one of the reasons we love Louie as a regular contributor to this program. We still have a good solid half hour to go. That means more Vikings talking points, some good ones yet ahead. So we ask that you hang in. Back in a minute.
Join the fans Guardsy this Sunday at Gray's Food Hall for a Purple Watch Party. Kick off at 3 as Minnesota takes on Seattle. Great food, cold drinks, and your chance to win prizes every quarter. Don't miss it this Sunday. Gray's Food Hall. Full details, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Guardsy is in the Bahamas. You actually had offered up a live listen-in earlier. Gopher women's basketball team had, I think, its first game in whatever that tournament is named. Did we win or did we lose? Do we know?
They beat USF, the South Florida Bulls.
Okay.
57-45.
57-45. Okay, there you go.
5-1 on the year.
They are. They should have gotten the one. I think the one they lost was at Kansas. Kansas is not a great team this year, but they're off to a relatively promising start. We'll see where this thing goes. But I've never been. I've never been to the Bahamas. I tend to associate the Bahamas with, I know on both the men's and women's side, I think they have holiday tournaments. And I think the Bahamas tournament, I should say, maybe it's on the men's side, maybe they're just saying the women's. It's got this exotic blue backlighting that is very unique to the tournament. I wonder if anybody, doesn't matter. I'm locked out of our system again, so don't text me. Yeah. You can tweet me. But don't text me. You're not going to be able to get through at this point. But
it looks like it's in like a ballroom.
Yes, exactly
like a
right.
convention center.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It almost looks like it's, like you say, an auditorium of some sort rather than a big gym that we associate with that. So I'm sure he'll eventually file a live report. This is a tough day for him, as I said, because he's, I'm sure, enjoying where he is, but he's been on the Brosmer Brownstone beat for a while, and the fact that the story would break that he finally has the best chance he's had to start a game, and Guardsy's like millions of miles away, you really can't quite make up. But maybe we'll try to catch up with him tomorrow, because we're out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. Let's get to another Vikings talking point. My sources say, and because I've not heard the radio play-by-play call, that it's pretty dramatic what PA and or Peter Bursich have to say about a play that you could argue pretty much changed everything in the ballgame. From this moment forward, the Vikings no longer seemed all that interested in competing.
Whelan will let it fly from about his own 40. Miles Price heels on the 10. End-over-end production by Whelan. Price is going to let it sail over his head. Nice bounce for Green Bay at the 6. Price ran in there and touched it. What are you doing? It's bouncing about at the 5.
To get them out of
Green
the way.
Bay ball.
Are you kidding me?
That's ridiculous. I mean, this is so ridiculous. Seriously, after the special teams L on Devin Duvernay last game, and Price lets it fly over his head, and then for whatever the reason decides to run back by the ball.
On the field is the punt was touched by the return team player and subsequently recovered by the kickers. First down, Green Bay.
I think, didn't he get blocked? Price should have stayed out of there, obviously, but yeah. I thought he ended up kind of getting blocked into where the ball was headed. It was just it was a lame-brained play all the way around. And again, to that point, I don't think anybody was raving about the Vikings offense, but it was still a relatively competitive game, right? And that's pretty much what you have. How many yards did you have to go? 3? Was it 2? Or did they recover? Inside the 5, yeah. Very close, and in no time, you had your run, and you didn't need your number one running back.
No.
There was not any need to mess with the number one running back because...
First and goal, handoff to Wilson, goes up the middle, runs head first into Levi Drake Rodriguez, but he will plunge into the end zone for a Green Bay Packers touchdown, and Green Bay leads 6-3. The Packers with a 7-3 lead. First and 10, handoff Emmanuel Wilson, runs to the right side, right into the back of center Sean Ryan, bounces off 2 Vikings at the 25, and he'll forge ahead to the 29 for a run of 11 that should have been a run of 4, and it's a first down for Green Bay. Jordan Love in the short shotgun. It's the pistol formation. Emmanuel Wilson behind him. And on first and 10, handoff Wilson. He'll bounce off right tackle Zach Tom and get to the outside. 45-40. Metellus in spry fashion brings him down at about the 35-yard line still. They gave him 10, so it's a first down from the Vikings 37. Packers lead 17-6. Emmanuel Wilson, he's the tailback. And he continues his career day against the Minnesota Vikings. More on that momentarily. First and 10, they go to Wilson, jump cut right. And he runs right by Eric Wilson across the 20 to the 18-yard line for a first down. That's an 11-yard run. So Emmanuel Wilson now has 103 rushing yards on 23 carries. For Emmanuel Wilson, who is in his 3rd year from Fort Valley State, career highs for attempts, rushing yards, touchdowns, and scrimmage yards. He now has 121 scrimmage yards, and it's first and 10 for Green Bay from the Vikings 18, leading by 11.
He finished, I think, the day with 28 carries, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 12, as we said. And had you even heard of him before the game? Well, you probably had because you're a Packer Rube.
Yeah, correct.
I'm not saying he's, got no talent, but come on, man. I buy the notion that everybody gets worn down when you have a quarterback play that is historically bad. I think it ends up, whether it should or not, affecting pretty much everybody. Your guy, Jordan Love, fairly pedestrian numbers, right? 14 for 21, 139, no touchdowns, no picks. It was a day where your offense didn't have to do a lot. When the other QB's 12 for 19 for 87 yards, no touchdowns, and two picks, and is sacked 5 times, you just keep playing, and you're probably going to be okay. And ultimately, you were. A final score of 23-6.
Yeah, PA asked me, I run the 9 to noon program on Tuesdays when they're out at TCO, and he asked me down the line, what do you think of Emmanuel Wilson? And I just said,
don't sleep on him?
No, I just said, it's a fine backup guy, does the job when Jacobs needs, a sip of water, and then that's his bit. I didn't think he was capable of that. I didn't think the run game, as far as the run blocking, was capable of that either. But, when you have Love as the AC joint sprain in his shoulder, why risk it when the run game is working so well? So they didn't really ask him to do much. They didn't need to do much. I'm
looking at the NFC North standings. The Bears, and probably after escaping a Soldier Field with a victory over the Aaron Rodgers less. No, the Pittsburgh Steelers without Aaron Rodgers, I guess I should say. They're at 8-3. Your Packers a half game behind at 7-3-1. Detroit is 7-4. Which means that not only are the Vikings in last place, they are 3 games out of third place. It's astonishing when you think about it. And for the record, the Bears, 8-3, right? 8 wins, 3 losses. Mm-hmm. Their point differential remains -3.
I think that's their last win of the season.
Packers +61, Lions +83. Vikings are -31. The Bears, 8-3, -3 differential. You might be right. They've got the Eagles on Friday in the Black Friday game. Mm-hmm. I think they've got 2 games left with you guys. They've got the Niners, and was it one more with the Lions?
Yep. Yeah. So Eagles, Packers on the road.
Right.
Browns at home, which that could be now that Shadur's the starter.
About the Browns, yeah.
But then Packers again, 49ers on the road, and then the Lions.
Remarkable. Well, we'll find out.
A win there.
We'll find out. We'll see. Don't get haughty. You're not going to. You haven't clinched the division yet, my boy. Wait it out. Let's break. Come back. Wrap things up. Remind you what we have coming up tomorrow. What you missed earlier today. Stay tuned.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's brought to you by American Pressure.
A number of people had sent in the video that's being explored of the hit we did talk about. For those who were just joining the program, we did talk about the one where he went down hard on a scramble to the left and almost seemed like flat on his back with his arms outstretched in a way that I thought indicated he got nailed pretty good. That's where the speculation is, where the concussion might have taken place, if it is indeed a concussion. I don't even know if that's been ruled that. And in fact, he's in concussion protocol. Which I think indicates at the very least there's a suspicion of that he had expressed some concern, I think, on the way back, according to Adam Thielen, and then maybe this morning as well about some symptoms. Could that have been the play? Yeah, I think it's almost foolhardy to evaluate on the basis of any play, because it's often the play where you think, oh my God, that looks like a concussion. There's nothing, and then sometimes a play that looks relatively harmless, for whatever the reason, the way a head snaps back or the way he falls, ends up being a part of it. I don't think it's worth going through all that in Zapruder film-like fashion, to be honest with you. I don't know what it leads to, because you're never going to know, and you're never going to convince the conspiracy theorists. And as I said earlier, if McCarthy were playing more serviceably, this wouldn't even be a discussion. It'd be, well, yeah, it's bad. That's bad luck for him. Now he's playing a little better, and he's in concussion protocol. The reason I think these conspiracy theories have oxygen is he's playing so poorly that people are concluding that, well, they don't want him to play, or they're looking for an out, and either he's giving them that out or they're giving themselves that out with the concussion conversation. And as I said, I think we already know the most important issue. We know they miscalculated on the readiness of this player to be the guy this year in a way that was going to allow them to, at the same time, compete within the division and within the conference. They miscalculated that. I don't want to revisit all the other options they had, because we've talked about that before. But I think that's what we already know, which, again, is not the same thing as saying he can never be a franchise quarterback for this team. But he's whatever vision they had, and they had this vision, trust me, that we can do both at the same time. that has been proven to be incorrect. And the question is how vulnerable it makes the people who run this team. We've talked about the fact that, we have no playoff wins thus far with this regime. And, that starts adding up year after year. Now, I think, obviously, the key question moving forward is how you evaluate him between now and the end of the season. And he must make enough progress when he does return to the field for them to start next season or next offseason to say, we still think he can be the guy. I believe you may already be at a point where you have to consider the possibility of bringing in competition and saying, we still believe in him, but we're gonna create a little competition this time. We'll see where this goes. But then that means you got to find somebody who's willing to sign with you, who's more than a pedestrian, that is saying, okay, you don't have to guarantee me the job either. Just give me a chance to compete. That ultimately is the Daniel Jones route, and to this point it's worked out, although he's come back to the pack a little bit, so we'll see. I want to thank our outstanding guest lineup today, which included Luigi, Johnny Athletic, Ben Lieber, and Adam Thielen. All of this podcastable later. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Louie is out, so I'm hoping Kevin Seifert. I'm hoping we can get him in studio because there's still plenty of meat on the Vikings bone as well. Who knows what else tomorrow? Hope you'll join us, and hopefully we'll have our Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line fixed by then as well. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.